what did the California legislature find and declare, or why is this legislation necessary? They drew up a list of 18 what they call findings about the situation of health care in the United States and in California. And a number of them could be summarized simply by the first sentence there. The California legislature finds that health care is getting worse. And that covers a lot of the things that we know about: the number of uninsured, the rising costs of health care, the rising amount of spending, the cost of insurance premiums, and things of that kind. Those are all sort of subsumed under this question, California, that the health care is getting worse. Then there are a couple of other findings that we could summarize this way concerning the practice of health insurance companies that tend to exclude the most likely people who need health care services and to segregate the various potential patients in ways that create enormous disparities in the kind of health care that people get, the access, and so forth, so that it makes it almost impossible for us to have a system of truly comprehensive, universal health care. And the third major point was that the current amount that is spent on health care is actually, in California, would be adequate to provide comprehensive, high-quality health care for everybody if it were organized in such a way that it was fair and wise, so that we wouldn't really have to spend any additional money than we are now. So those are the three big categories of things that the legislature publishes in the bill, that are the findings. The next question is, what does this legislation establish? And now we're getting sort of a little bit technical. But the answer that this legislation establishes within state government the California health care system. Now, think about what we have today, and you'll realize that this is actually a very radical change, that the bill calls for organizing health care in California into a system. And what does a system do? It's something that consists of many parts, and if it's properly organized, these parts work together to provide, in this case, health care for everybody. And I think it's really important to recognize that there are these little routine things in the beginning of the bill that are actually quite radical given where we are today. The system will be administered by a California healthcare agency. And is this the creation of a new bureaucracy? The answer is absolutely. This is a new bureaucracy, but it will be organized in such a way as to ensure good health care in California. It will serve the public interest, and it will be accountable to the public. Okay, question 3, what is the purpose of the California health care system? And once again, do we know what the purpose is of health care in the United States today? This is, again, a kind of radical thing. Say, let's define what it is we're trying to do, and then we'll have something to measure how well the system actually performs, as to whether it actually accomplishes the things that it's intended to do. It isn't a matter of maintaining the free market in healthcare or something like that. It's very specific. Its intent is to establish the system that we described just now that provides all residents with comprehensive healthcare benefits, guarantees a single standard of care for all residents, stabilizes growth in healthcare spending, and improves the quality of health for all residents. And believe me, this is not something that is clearly understood by a lot of people in this country, that that's what health care should be for. There are a number of goals that are specific goals that are also set up in the bill. There are actually 8 specific goals, and a few of them, the goals actually range from things like preventing disease and disability to increasing overall healthcare satisfaction, providing culturally and linguistically sensitive care for all people, including the disabled, developing a healthcare database for planning and providing healthcare information in an appropriate and accessible format so the public can actually get good healthcare information. What happens to private health insurance plans? Well, basically, they are out. They cannot. Under the bill, you will not be able to sell a private insurance plan that covers the same services that are covered in the system. Then we get just to the top part of the way in which the system is going to be organized. It will be headed by a healthcare commissioner. The healthcare commissioner will be appointed by the governor and confirmed by the California Senate within 30 days of the appointment. And if for some reason the Senate doesn't act or is out of session, that appointment will be automatically confirmed. Then there are certain limits to who can be the commissioner. This is the person that's going to be in charge of the whole system. They cannot be a member of the state legislature or a member of Congress while they're holding the office of commissioner. And then there are provisions to prevent any kind of conflict of interest. That is to say, 2 years before you take this office and for 2 years after you take this office, you cannot be employed by or paid by or a consultant to for-profit insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, companies that sell medical equipment to the state system. And the same thing is true both before you're appointed to the office and afterwards. So that's a way of making sure that we don't get somebody from the insurance company running the healthcare system. And then the last question, what are the responsibilities of the commissioner? Well, in the bill there are 39 specific things that are indicated as the responsibility of the commission. They're lettered from A through Z and from AA to AM. The commissioner has broad powers, full responsibility for the agency. So this is the person that's going to catch the flack if things don't work. We know who it is. It'll be the commissioner. Nobody can pass off. The buck will stop with the commissioner. And these are among the range of responsibilities: the system budget, setting goals, allocating resources, setting the rates, that would be how much is paid to the different healthcare providers, hiring and firing, compensation rates and formulas, regulations, standards and priorities, and finally assuring the system's financial solvency. There would be, sort of from the top, there would be 8 separate boards or sub-agencies that would be organized, and some of these will be covered by later speakers as to what they are. Things like assuring quality, a grievance board for patients, and things of that kind. There will also be health planning regions. I think that'll be covered also, so that different regions of the state that have different needs will be able to plan the health care in those regions. Like in rural areas, we don't have to worry about isolated people in San Francisco, but in Modoc County or Siskiyou County or places like that, rural health and the access to health is a serious problem. And finally, they'll also, on the local level, try to integrate service providers to create networks so that they can exchange information. And finally, to develop electronic systems and a framework for performance measurements.